Welcome to AiArthritis Voices 360. This is actually a 360 it. And what that means is it is a spinoff from an original one of our main episodes that happen the first Sunday of every month. And that was an auto plus inflammatory arthritis is diagnosis, please. And I did that with Miss Leila, who is our education and engagement manager, person living with lupus nephritis and Sjogren's syndrome. So make sure that you check into that original episode that spurred off this conversation, and somebody who was a sort of mini guest on there and didn't even know it because we talked about her, I don't know, 3 or 4 times, was Phedre. And Phedra's here right now for the 360 it. So, hey, Phedre.
Hello, how are you doing?
We're good. Phedre is one of our staff here at AiArthritis. So let me just preface, this is the official talk show for the International Foundation for AiArthritis, or AiArthritis for short. All people that are invested in AiArthritis diseases, and Phedre unexpectedly is now on a journey to her own diagnosis. And so that's what we're going to do today, because I know a lot of you out there are in this position, or you have been, and like myself, and you can relate. So Phedre, first of all, say hi, tell everyone what you do at our organization.
Hi, so my name is Phedre, and I am a project assistant. So I help primarily with a lot of the different projects. Right now, I'm pretty much working on the GIA, Juvenile Idiopathic Arthritis project, but I also help out with a lot of different other projects. And a lot of the time, it's the AI Voices 360 project. So
yeah, so this very talk show, she's behind the scenes. Now she's in front of the scenes. That's how it works here. You know, I literally said like a week ago, oh, by the way, you're going to be on our show. So that's how we roll. Anyway, so the topic, again, this is a 360 it, which means once it show airs, many conversations can spin off into as many different directions as we can. Sometimes they're videos, sometimes it's Twitter chat, sometimes it could be Facebook Live. Any way you can think of. We thought the best version of this is just a video, a heart-to-heart. Let's talk about the things that you all, I know, have either gone through or are going through. We're going to hear from Phedre. She's got, when is your rheumatologist appointment?
On the 20th, I believe.
So a couple weeks from now.
Yeah.
From the time
I thought it was
recording.
next week, but I guess I was being blown or whatever it was. So yeah, it's at the 20th. It's the first one. So
okay,
got a couple weeks.
All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to just ask you sort of what led you to this rheumatology visit. What were the symptoms? What made you say, oh, sure, it's time to go?
So first off, I apologize. I have dogs, and there's danger outside apparently. So I am very sorry. I also have crazy cats right now. It's I guess NASCAR kitty season right now. So if you hear that going on, they know I'm recording. Okay. So that's what's happening. So my back has been, I guess like a lot of people, I've had, back drama for a while, but so we've had a very cold season here in Washington. It's very unusual. We've been a lot of snow, just a lot of cold, damp weather. And, for, years I've been able to manage my back, but just lately it's just been ongoing pain, like just crippling, agonizing pain to the fact where I'm just, I can't really do a lot of stuff because I'm in so much pain. And, my normal stuff where I take like my Flexerol and my NSAIDs and my, that's the routines are not working. So, after talking with, people at AiArthritis and recognizing maybe I have arthritis, now I made the appointment to, and went through the steps to get my referral to go to a rheumatologist. And now I actually have an appointment with the rheumatologist, but a lot of different steps in between there. So
yeah, well, yes, the journey is always lives up to its name, journey, right? And so a couple questions for you. So first of all, I wanted to highlight, it was from sort of talking to all of us who live with the diseases and working on our projects where you were having a lot of aha moments where you're like, wait a minute, it's not, it's pain. Yes. And where is the pain specifically? And you said,
so for me, it's in my low back. So for those unfamiliar, my SI joint. So it's those 2 joints where your coccyx, your tailbone is. Those joints are unstable. And if they go out of whack, it just can cause your pain to either go on one side or both sides. So in my case, I think one of my joints is unstable. So it's primarily on my left side where it's just my low back and it goes up. And sometimes it's my sciatic joint, which kind of gets, not really joint, but my sciatica. But another thing I've noticed a lot is, I don't know for you, Tiffany, but my hip flexors in front, they're just, like if I sit too long, I'm just in agonizing pain. So I have to walk around a lot just to loosen those up. And that's very unusual for me. I've never had that before in my life, where just that hip pain, like right in the, I don't know what to do about it. It's stupid. So that's where I'm dealing with right now.
So I want to point these things out in this 360 it, because these are the things, if you're listening and you're going through this yourself, to listen to some key things that Phedre's saying here. So the first thing in this case was where the location of the pain was. Lower back, she said kind of the tailbone area. That is hallmark spondyloarthritis diseases. Now, that does include what I have, axial spondyloarthritis. That also can be part of other diseases that live under the umbrella, like psoriatic arthritis. Okay. That's the first thing. The second thing that Phedre said was, when I sit too long, but then I walk to make it feel better. That is hallmark inflammatory. So there's a big controversy, been years, and I'm going to circle back and ask you sort of what your original diagnosis was, because it's mechanical versus inflammatory. One of the top pain reported syndromes in the world is low back pain, but often that is mechanical, meaning there's something, an injury, overuse, or something that's happening there that is triggering that pain. But if you have pain after sitting for a long period of time, or when you're sleeping, you wake up and you think, man, do I need a new mattress? Those types of things are indicators that it's inflammatory and not mechanical. Very, very important. In saying that, what was your original diagnosis for your back, and what age were you?
So the original diagnosis,
age-ish. You don't have to disclose.
No, that's totally fine.
Okay.
I was 28, 29 when I got my first diagnosis, but that was after, basically going through like 6, 7 doctors before finally I had somebody who was like, you don't have a lumbar strain. You have, SI joint dysfunction. And that's what they called it at the time, was SI joint dysfunction. And even then it took like 6, 7 doctors before somebody actually figured that out. So.
And since that diagnosis, it sounds like there's been some, like, I know you have a heating pad right now.
Oh yeah.
That you're sitting
currently on my back right now. Yeah.
Currently on the back. And you've said NSAIDs, which are like an ibuprofen for those who aren't sure what that means. Was that the treatment plan that was given to you at that time, or is that something you've adopted over? Oh,
I've adopted
just yourself.
I mean, they tell you in the beginning, obviously, because of the inflammatory part, take your NSAIDs, do this. So at the time, they were basically giving me and this was back in 2008, 2009, going into 2010. It was also relaxers at the time. And sometimes it was opioids, but it was primarily take some Tylenol, lose some weight, exercise more.
To lose the weight.
To lose the weight thing, which was very, very common my entire life. So it's been a blast. So, he's coming to assist. So yeah, that's been my primarily plan the entire time is, if you lose weight, it'll feel better.
Yeah, well, that is something, no matter which of our diagnoses, that people hear that often. In saying that, I wanted to fast forward. So here we are right now, and we're 2 weeks away. And it was really funny because as Phedre is working with us, and I have axial spondyloarthritis, and Lindsay has psoriatic arthritis, and Michael has psoriatic arthritis, and Deanne has, psoriatic arthritis. They're kind of maybe moving into rheumatoid arthritis. You've got Leila with lupus, and we're all talking about our symptoms. And Phedre's like, wait a minute, brain fog? I have brain fog. And then it was like the fatigue. Well, wait a minute, I have fatigue. And if you look on our website under our disease pages, we've started to create breakout pages for each. And every one of them says auto plus inflammatory
Mhm.
arthritis, no matter which of those diagnoses.
And I have Hashimoto's. So I blamed a lot of this
and
on Hashimoto's.
she has
You
an
know, they have the
autoimmune.
joint pain, the brain fog, that's what I blamed it on.
Right. And so here we are, and she's talking about predominantly this low back, and Lindsay and I we're like betting. I'm like, oh, I think it's mine. I think it's axial. And she's like, I think it's mine. I think it's psoriatic arthritis, because you also
I have psoriasis too. So
psoriasis. So we're sitting there like, get to a rheumatologist. And here we are. So we really wanted to record this because we don't have an actual recording in the process, even though this is one of the things we do at our organization is help with these patient-inspired kind of mentorship and guidance. So we're hoping to, from this 360, we'll take some bullet points away to help Phedre in her journey, but also to help everyone else as they're going through here. And you're going to have to tune back in to find out what happened with the diagnosis. I mean, we're rolling the dice here. We're just assuming you're going to get one of our diagnoses. And if not,
and for all I know, I'm going to go to the doctor and they're going to be like, oh, well, your test came back and everything's fine. It's just inflammation. So lose some weight and exercise more, And
that's possible. And that's what we're going to drive home here in the last part of this 360. So you just said one of them. What are your concerns prepping for this appointment? What are your biggest fears going in there that's going to happen?
So
your dog has one.
If anyone wants any furry puppy dice, just let me know. Yeah. I don't know what's going on. So my big concern is basically what has happened my entire life. So when I first started going on this journey, it was just getting my pain dismissed. It was just getting it blamed on my weight. It was all kinds of things. And before this even happened, I worked out a lot. I was working out every day. I was very physically fit, not fit. I mean, I've always been a big person. I'm 5'10", like the smallest I've ever been is a size 14, 16. And even then, I had a 4-pack. Like I'm a big boned person. I'm just muscular. So on the BMI, I'm always going to be obese, no matter what I am. So that's always been a challenge for me, is having doctors look beyond what my BMI index is to what I am. Like, I have a lot of muscle. I have a lot of, this. And so it's just always been that fight. And even though I've lost 70 pounds, it doesn't matter. I know it's sorry, he's literally right next to me being a baby dog. And so that is my concern. My concern is I'm going to be dismissed. My concern is it's going to be blamed on my age. I have an anterior wedge fracture in my spine, but it's higher up. So I've had that blamed on it. I'm concerned. Like, I'm concerned that it's just going to be another issue where it's back when I was going to all these different doctors and they're like, oh, you're a malingerer. Oh, it's just this. Oh, it's just that. And nobody listens to me. Nobody, acknowledges that my pain is real. And I think the biggest problem that I've had my entire life, and I'm working on it really hard, is to be more of an advocate for myself, because all the time, and I think it's very common for women, especially bigger gals like myself, you don't want to rock the boat. You want to be you don't want to cause problems. And I have ADHD, so it's that neurodivergent part too. You don't want to cause a problem. We're really good at masking. We're really good at hiding our pain, hiding our true feelings. And so for me, I just have to be really, conscious of that and cognizant when I go into doctors' offices to be my own advocate. And so I think all of us need to get better at, because they're not going to advocate for us unless they're a really good doctor. But even then, they're not going to know what to do until we advocate for ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And we should definitely link back to resources as a shout out here to our series Roomy Rounds, which is a spinoff series that we do from the show that I co-created with my rheumatologist, Al Kim, or just Al, what we like to say now. And it is a show that is about getting patients and doctors to the table to talk about heartfelt issues that if we discuss them and we could create better communication and outcomes in the office. And in one of our one of our roomie rounds, we talk about exactly what you were talking about, in that we as patients come to the office with not baggage. I don't know if that's the right word, but we have an emotional attachment of history that's coming with us. All they're doing, and you'll hear them in the episode say, is they already know what they're going to talk about before they come in. So, and we're like, there's an emotional component. Theirs is a very mechanistic. And so anyway, we'll spin off to that one and link to you, because to the listeners, because that is a really relevant piece here. Anyway, let's get back to what we want to do here. So that is your fear. What's your hope?
My hope is that after all these years, I will finally have a diagnosis. I've lived for almost over 10 years now, since 2009, 2010, not knowing what's going on in my body, feeling broken, feeling like, is it all in my head? Am I, is it really what they say? Like, maybe if I work out more, but it's just, I just want to have something, because it's my friends and my family. And it's also just for myself, just, hey, I'm not crazy. This is a real thing. This is a real chronic issue. My chronic pain, it's legit, because
what you're saying right now, we at AiArthritis have said ourselves. We have heard millions of times. So you're not alone. Your story is, unfortunately, we get it.
Yeah.
But the good news is we get it.
Yeah.
And so in the same sense, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna prep Phedre for her office visit. So we're gonna post this now. Of course, some of you are going to watch this after the fact, and she'll already have a diagnosis, but you can still submit comments, because this situation is will go away, we hope, with our work, but it's something that's going to continue. So what advice do you have for Phedre to advocate for herself, to make sure she gets some answers? So we're going to throw that out there. One of the things that we like to say at our organization in advice, the first thing, which we've already talked to Phedre about, is if your blood work comes back negative, don't let a primary doctor say, oh, there's nothing wrong with you, so you don't need a referral. We tackled that already, right, Phedre?
Yeah, because my RH is low. I don't have any issues with my RH. I don't have, I think it's the other one, the CR something. That one's normal. The only one that's like, because they take 3 tests for my blood test, was the inflammation was really high. So, and when I was researching it, it was very common, like with lupus, to be really high, but I don't have the symptoms.
Oh, it is in all of our diseases. It can be really high. So now in my case, I've never had positive blood work in my life. And so there are people like me, it's called seronegative, and that adds another level to the challenge.
That's more fun.
Because if you don't have anything. So when she was waiting for her results, I said, if it comes back negative, we're going to ask you to insist to still see a rheumatologist based on symptoms. But she got through. She's there. We're there. Okay. Yeah. So in saying that, we will often say, as much as you can, come in with a bullet pointed list of history that you could actually print out and hand over. So that will help a lot to track flares. One of the things that's part of our diseases is the up and down. Now, of course, you can have chronic where it's going for long periods of time, but typically the pairing, when it has heightened, the pain, the fatigue, the brain fog, it goes into these kind of mountains, right? Mountains and valleys. Those are flares. And if you can show that in itself, that gives an indicator that you're dealing with something that could be like an autoimmune arthritis, autoinflammatory arthritis, not an injury or something that would not go in peaks and valleys like that, unless there was, some kind of medication involved. But going in with some kind of evidence in that you're there, you're prepared. Doctors in our roomie rounds have been telling us it's so nice when a patient comes in prepared like that. So that's the tip I'm going to give. And then we're also going to prepare Phedre with some questions to ask while she's there. So for example, and this might come up naturally. I don't know the rheumatologist. We don't know what to expect.
I don't know
right?
either.
So we have no idea. It could be that this doctor does all of these things and we don't have, but you need to remember it's okay to ask questions. And if they say, I'm not sure what this is, let's wait and watch. We always want to make sure to be very proactive. Number one, well, what do you think it is? If you don't think it's a psoriatic arthritis or an axial spondyloarthritis, let them tell you and not leave you without answers. That's the first tip. And in a case of people listening out there, send us a message. Find us on social media, send us an email, go to our website, fill out the contact form. If you're like, which diseases might I be leaning towards? Maybe, or you can just use the umbrella term of autoimmune arthritis or autoinflammatory arthritis. Those are basically two parts of the immune system that triggered. And so some of our diseases fall under autoinflammatory, some autoimmune. In saying that, the other thing is to ask, in addition to that, it would be, what specifically is the next step? And especially if they say, wait and watch. Being knowledgeable about our diseases, Phedre's already gone a decade without answers. And we know from research that the earlier you get diagnosed and on the right treatment, the best chance you have to ever achieve remission. Okay, so it's vital not to wait, no matter if you're in there for the first 6 months or 10 years. So it is completely fair to say, well, how long do I have to wait and watch? If that happens.
Yeah.
And then if it doesn't happen and they're like, great, let's get on a treatment plan, because that's the other spectrum, right? It's also okay to ask questions about what that means. When would I start? When do I come back to get follow-ups? What could I expect from the treatment plan? That's what I'm going to start with. And what do you say, Phedre? Is there anything else that you want? It's funny when I ask you a question, the dog responds almost every time.
Babies. They're just babies.
I've done that.
They think it's all about them. He's literally sitting here just like, I want to be part of this. What do you have to say? What do you have to say? No.
So
off camera all the time.
So is there anything else that you want to add, Phedre?
Yeah. The only thing I want to tell other people is if you're like me and you've been dealing with this pain or something for a while, and back then there was nothing so for me, non-radiographic axial spondyloarthritis didn't exist in 2009, 2010. Back when I was dealing with this, even SI joint dysfunction was very, very new. It was new. It was a new diagnosis. Only one doctor out of the 6 or 7 that I saw, and most of them were men. It was a female doctor that diagnosed me. Mm-hmm. Even an osteo doctor. I went to everyone you can mention, and none of them knew what it was. It took a female doctor, and the way that she did my diagnosis, which was very interesting, even back then, is she had me roll down my pants, like just my jeans, just roll it down a little bit to my hips, lift up my shirt, and she had me bend over with my back facing slowly. And she said, I was bending over slowly, and she said, it's your SI joints. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, your hips. She's like, your hips are visibly misaligned. And I was like, what? I was like, it's your SI joint. One iliac wing, which is your back hip wing, is higher than the other. And that's very common with SI joint dysfunction. And at that point, I was like, what the heck is this? What are you talking about? And so once she started talking about it, she started, giving me information about it. And then we were able to determine at the time I didn't have encapsulating spondylitis, which was, when they fuse. But when I started getting, the physical therapy for it and everything, then it started making sense on how I could manage my pain. I recognized the pain. I recognized how to manage it when my joint was out of whack, when I had to, move around more. So my point to people is, just because you got a diagnosis years ago or maybe even research that it's nothing. Things change all the time. Medicine evolves so quickly. So if a doctor doesn't know now, or maybe 5 years ago, what you had, stop barking. Seriously. It changes. The medicine evolves. Go again. Keep asking until you get somebody who listens. You might be like me, where you had to go to multiple doctors to have somebody recognize, oh, I know what that is. And again, it can keep evolving. So that's my pull on this in your journey.
That is a really important point that I'll just add to as we're wrapping this up, because those who have listened to the show or followed our organization and some of our stories of our staff, I was originally the mystery patient. Then I received a diagnosis of rheumatoid arthritis, seronegative, meaning not positive blood work, in 2009, because it was the only thing that they could find. I did have tailbone issues and pain. And I also could not test positive for ankylosing spondylitis, because there was a more stringent diagnosis then for that most people thought you had to be male. Not true. Most people, you had to be HLA-B27 positive. I am not. So there were a lot of things that deterred that, because I just didn't meet the diagnostic criteria. And saying that, around 2012, 2013, they started doing an umbrella diagnosis of axial spondyloarthritis, non-radiographic, which is what I'm diagnosed with, no HLA-B27 gene, no positive blood work. So I'm not, and I don't have radiographic damage. That puts me on that end of the spectrum. Once you hit radiographic damage, you fall into the ankylosing spondylitis. And to be honest, there's still people walking around today, either with rheumatoid arthritis diagnosed when they really have non-radiographic expa, or they're diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis. And in all honesty, it's non-radiographic because they don't have the radiographic damage. So that in itself is a proof exactly what you just said, Phedre. So we are going to wrap up this 360th, but you have to stay tuned to find out what's happening with Phedre.
Hopefully next time without puppies barking like crazy.
Yes.
Maybe I'll do this in my bed, because they take naps lying down. So who knows? Maybe I'll do that.
All right. Yeah, and that's okay too. We change the world from our sofas and our beds all the time. So because we understand. So thank you for tuning in to this 360th. Again, you can look for the main episode that this stemmed from as well, which was the auto plus inflammatory arthritis. I believe it was episode 82. Yes. Okay. Phedre's given me the thumbs up. It was episode 82. That was with Leila and myself. This is a spinoff of that episode. You can also find all of our episodes at AiArthritis.org/talk show. And while there, please consider a donation, because we can't do what we do without the support of our community. So that is it. We are tuning off, and hopefully we get some really exciting answers here soon. Thanks, Phedre, for joining us.